The jungle was a world of its own. It was a place of deep greens and dark shadows. Sunlight struggled to reach the forest floor. It cut through the thick canopy in golden shafts. Ancient trees draped in vines stood like silent giants. They had watched over this land for centuries. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and sweet, blooming flowers. It was a place teeming with life. Every leaf, every branch held a secret. Survival here was a constant test. Every creature had to be strong. They had to be smart. This was the raw, untamed heart of the wild. In this vibrant world, sound was everywhere. Parrots screeched from high branches, their bright feathers flashing in the light. Monkeys chattered and swung through the trees, their movements a blur of energy and play. The hum of insects was a constant background noise, a never-ending chorus. Water trickled over mossy stones in hidden streams, a cool and quiet melody. But beneath this symphony of life, there was always an undercurrent of danger. A snapped twig could mean a predator was near. A sudden silence could signal that an unseen threat was watching. It was a beautiful but unforgiving paradise. Every day was a struggle for survival. The food chain was a brutal reality. The hunter and the hunted played their roles in a daily drama. Small creatures hid from larger ones. Larger ones watched for even bigger threats. The rules were simple. Find food, find water, avoid becoming someone else's meal. This constant pressure made every animal sharp. It made them aware of their surroundings. Every sense was on high alert. To live here, you had to understand the rhythm of the jungle, the unspoken laws that governed this incredible, perilous kingdom. This kingdom was a delicate balance of power. Each animal, from the smallest ant to the largest elephant, had its place. They were all part of a great, intricate web of life. The jungle provided everything they needed. It gave them shelter in its hollow logs and dense undergrowth. It offered food from its fruiting trees and bustling riverbanks. But it also demanded respect. Those who did not respect its power, its sudden storms, its hidden dangers, did not last long. This was a land of breathtaking beauty and absolute, uncompromising wildness. In the heart of this vast jungle, there lived a king. He was not a man. He was a lion named Leo. Leo was magnificent. He was a powerful beast with a mane like the rising sun. It was a thick, golden-brown crown that framed his noble face. His body was pure muscle, built for speed and strength. His paws were huge, tipped with claws as sharp as daggers. When he walked, the ground seemed to tremble beneath his weight. He moved with a quiet confidence, a silent grace that spoke of his power. He was the undisputed ruler of this domain. Leo's roar was the law of the land. It was a sound that could shake the leaves from the trees. When he roared, the jungle fell silent. The chattering monkeys would freeze. The birds would stop their singing. Every creature, big and small, would pause and listen. The roar was a declaration. It said, "I am here, this is my kingdom." It was a warning to any who might dare to challenge him. It was also a comfort to the weaker animals, a sign that their powerful protector was watching over them. His presence brought order to the wild chaos. He was a fair but firm ruler. He did not kill for sport. He only hunted when he was hungry. He protected the watering holes, ensuring that all animals had a place to drink in peace. He drove off wandering predators that threatened the balance of his territory. The other animals respected him. They feared his strength, but they also trusted his rule. He was a symbol of courage and power. He faced every danger head-on. He never backed down from a fight. His bravery was legendary, a story whispered from one generation to the next. Every morning, Leo would climb to the top of a high, sun-warmed rock. This was his throne. From there, he could look out over his entire kingdom. He watched the morning mist burn away. He saw the herds of deer moving to graze in the grassy clearings. He observed the eagles soaring high above. He felt the pulse of the jungle, its energy, its life. He was a part of it, and it was a part of him. He was Leo, the king, and he was ready for whatever the day would bring. Survival is about being the best. He was the best. But not all creatures in the jungle were content with the lion's rule. Deep in the dark and swampy marshlands, a dangerous plan was being hatched. 3 of the deadliest snakes in the world had come together. They were tired of living in the shadow of the lion's roar. They craved power. They wanted the jungle to fear them above all others. They believed that together they could overthrow the king. They were a trio of pure venom and cold-blooded ambition. Their alliance was a dark promise of chaos. The first was Ka, the king cobra. He was a magnificent and terrifying serpent. His scales shimmered like polished bronze. When he rose to strike, he could look a man in the eye. His hood would flare, a fearsome display of his power. Ka was a master of intimidation. His venom was a potent neurotoxin capable of stopping a creature's heart with a single bite. He was cunning and patient. He believed that true power came not from brute strength, but from deadly precision and intellect. He saw the lion as a loud, clumsy brute. The second was Mamba, the black mamba. She was pure speed. Her body was a long, slender whip of dark grey muscle. She could move faster than a man could run. She was nervous and aggressive. Unlike the cobra, she didn't wait to be threatened. She would strike first, and she would strike repeatedly. Her venom was even faster acting than the cobra's. It attacked the nerves, causing swift paralysis and death. Mamba was the embodiment of sudden, unpredictable danger. She hated the lion's predictable patrols and his booming roar. The third member of this venomous trio was Rusty, the Russell's viper. He was the master of ambush. His skin was a perfect camouflage of brown and yellow patterns. It allowed him to disappear completely among the dry leaves of the jungle floor. Rusty was slow and methodical. He would lie in wait for hours, perfectly still, until his prey came within striking distance. His bite was different. His venom destroyed tissue and blood, causing excruciating pain and massive bleeding. He was a silent, hidden killer. He resented the lion's open display of power. Together, they were a force of pure malice. The day of the challenge arrived. The sun was hot. The air hung heavy and still. The usual jungle sounds were muted, replaced by a tense silence. The 3 snakes made their way to the large open clearing at the center of Leo's territory. They moved with a chilling purpose. Ka, the cobra, slithered with his head held high, his hood slightly flared. Mamba, the mamba, moved in swift, darting motions, her black eyes scanning everything. Rusty, the viper, crawled low to the ground, his patterned body blending with the earth. They positioned themselves in a triangle, a deadly formation. Leo was on his morning patrol when he sensed the change. The silence was unnatural. It was the kind of silence that preceded a storm or a hunt. His instincts screamed that something was wrong. He followed the feeling, his powerful muscles tense and ready. His nose picked up the strange, musky scent of the snakes, a scent that did not belong in this open clearing. He emerged from the trees and saw them, the 3 serpents waiting for him. They were a direct challenge to his authority, an invasion of his sacred space. The tension in the clearing was a physical thing. You could almost feel it in the air. Leo stood his ground at the edge of the trees, his golden eyes narrowed as he assessed the threat. He had faced snakes before, but never 3 at once, and never these 3. He recognized each of them. He knew their reputations, the cobra's deadly intelligence, the mamba's lightning speed, the viper's hidden danger. This was not a random encounter. This was a coordinated attack. A battle for the throne was about to begin. Ka, the cobra, was the first to speak. His voice was a low, sibilant hiss that seemed to echo in the silence. "Your rule is over, old lion," Ka hissed, his body swaying hypnotically. "The jungle needs new leaders, leaders who are smart, silent, and deadly, not a loud, arrogant cat." Mamba flicked her forked tongue, tasting the air. "Your time is done," she added, her voice a sharp whisper. Rusty the Viper remained silent, a coiled spring of potential energy, his eyes fixed on the lion. Leo did not respond with words. He answered with a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through the ground. The challenge was accepted. The battle started with a blur of motion. Mamba, the black mamba, was the first to attack. She was all about speed. She didn't wait for a signal. She shot forward like a black arrow, aiming for Leo's exposed leg. Her plan was simple: land a quick bite and retreat before the lion could react. It was a strategy that had never failed her before. Her movements were a liquid blur, almost too fast for the eye to follow. The air whistled as she cut through it, a streak of living death heading straight for the king of the jungle. But Leo was no ordinary animal. He was a seasoned warrior. His senses were incredibly sharp. He had been watching Mamba, anticipating her speed. As she lunged, he did not try to meet her head-on. Instead, he reacted with astonishing agility for such a large creature. He spun on his powerful hind legs, pivoting away from the strike. It was a move of pure instinct and experience. His massive paw came down not on the snake, but on the ground right next to her, showering her with dirt and stones. It was a warning shot, a display of his own speed. While Leo was distracted by the mamba, Kaa the cobra saw his chance. He rose up, his hood flaring wide like a ceremonial fan. He was a terrifying sight. He swayed back and forth, trying to mesmerize the lion with his hypnotic dance. His goal was to draw Leo's attention, to lock his eyes, and then to deliver his fatal venomous spit. The cobra's venom could blind an opponent from a distance, making them an easy target for a final lethal bite. It was a classic cobra tactic, a battle of minds as much as a battle of bodies. Leo felt the cobra's mesmerizing gaze trying to pull him in. He knew the danger of looking directly into the snake's eyes. He had to break the spell. With a mighty roar that ripped through the clearing, Leo shook his massive head from side to side. The sheer force of the sound wave disrupted Kaa's concentration. The cobra flinched. In that split second, Leo swiped a paw at the ground again, sending a cloud of dust and leaves toward the cobra. The dance was over. The real fight, a brutal test of strength and will, had just begun. The snakes quickly regrouped. They were smart. They understood teamwork. This time, they attacked together. Mamba darted in from the left, a feint to draw the lion's attention. Simultaneously, Kaa lunged from the right, his fangs bared. It was a classic pincer movement, designed to overwhelm a single opponent. In the chaos, Rusty the Viper began to crawl silently, almost invisibly, through the grass. He was moving to a new position, hoping to deliver the killing blow while the lion was busy with his faster companions. It was a deadly, coordinated strategy. Leo was surrounded. He was in the fight of his life. He couldn't dodge both attacks at once. He had to make a choice. He saw the cobra, Kaa, as the greater immediate threat. The cobra's strike was powerful and direct. Ignoring the darting mamba for a crucial second, Leo focused all his power on the cobra. He met Kaa's lunge, not by retreating, but by charging forward. With a thunderous roar, he brought his massive heavy paw down on the cobra's back, just behind its flared hood. The sound of snapping bone echoed in the clearing. Kaa was defeated, but the battle was far from over. One enemy was down, but two remained. Mamba, enraged by the death of her ally, attacked with a renewed fury. She was no longer fainting. She was a whirlwind of rage, striking again and again. She was too fast to pin down. She darted in, nipped at his fur, and retreated before he could land a solid blow. Leo was getting tired. The constant movement was draining his energy. He had to end this quickly. He waited, letting the mamba come to him, conserving his strength for one perfect moment. As Mamba lunged one last time, aiming for his throat, Leo was ready. He didn't swipe. He didn't roar. He opened his massive jaws. He caught the speeding snake in midair. With a single powerful crunch, he snapped her spine. The deadly black mamba went limp in his mouth. He dropped her to the ground. He was breathing heavily now, his sides heaving, two down. But as he stood over his fallen foes, He felt a sharp, searing pain in his back leg. He looked down. Rusty, the viper, had finally struck. The silent killer had delivered his venomous bite. The pain was immediate and intense. It felt like fire coursing through his veins. Rusty the viper had done his job well. The venom was already beginning to work, attacking his flesh and blood. Leo let out a roar, but this one was different. It was a roar of pain and fury. He turned to face his final attacker. The viper was coiled, ready to strike again. His patterned skin made him hard to see against the leafy ground. But Leo's eyes were now locked on him. The king was wounded, but his spirit was not broken. Rusty did not retreat. He saw the lion's weakness. He saw the heavy breathing and the wounded leg. He believed victory was his. He lunged again, a short, fast strike aimed at the same leg. But a wounded lion is still a lion. Leo, fueled by adrenaline and rage, met the attack with a final, desperate burst of strength. He ignored the searing pain and stomped down with his uninjured front paw. He was faster than the viper anticipated. He pinned the snake's head to the ground with immense force, crushing it instantly. The third snake was dead. Victory. The clearing was silent once more. The bodies of the 3 deadly serpents lay still on the ground. Leo stood alone, the victor. He had faced the ultimate challenge and had emerged triumphant. He had protected his kingdom. He had proven his strength and courage. But the victory came at a great cost. He looked down at his leg. It was already swelling, the skin dark around the 2 small puncture marks. The viper's venom was a potent poison, and it was now inside him. He was exhausted. His muscles ached. Every breath was a struggle. The adrenaline that had fueled him through the fight was fading, replaced by a deep weariness and the throbbing pain in his leg. He looked around his clearing, at the throne he had fought so hard to defend. He was still the king, but he was a wounded one. He limped slowly towards the edge of the forest, towards the cool shade of the ancient trees. He needed to rest. He needed to heal. The fight was over, but the struggle for his own survival had just begun. The jungle knew what had happened. The story of the epic battle spread like wildfire. The birds carried the tale from treetop to treetop. The monkeys chattered about it to their families. The deer whispered it to each other at the watering hole. They spoke of the lion's incredible bravery. They described his powerful roar and his lightning-fast moves. They marveled at how he had faced down not 1, but 3 of the most feared killers in the entire jungle. The legend of Leo, the warrior king, grew even stronger. For days, the king was not seen. His throne on the high rock remained empty. The jungle held its breath. Some feared he was gone forever, that the viper's venom had claimed its final victory. The silence from his territory was worrying. But then after a week, a familiar sound rolled across the land. It was a roar. It was weaker than before, lacking its usual earth-shaking power, but it was unmistakable. It was the roar of the king. Leo had survived. He had fought the venom and won. He emerged from the shadows thinner and weaker, but alive. He limped heavily on his back leg, a permanent reminder of his great battle. The wound had left a scar, a mark of his costly victory. He would never be quite the same. His speed was slightly diminished, his power tempered by the memory of pain, but in the eyes of the other animals, he was greater than ever. The scar was not a sign of weakness. It was a badge of honor, a symbol of his incredible resilience and his unbreakable will to survive. The story of the lion and the venomous trio became a timeless legend. It was a story about more than just a fight. It was a story about courage in the face of overwhelming odds. It was a story about strategy, how even the strongest must also be smart. And it was a story about the true nature of the wild, where every victory comes at a price. Leo continued to rule his kingdom for many more years, a wise and scarred king. And his legend lived on, a whisper in the leaves, a testament to the enduring spirit of survival.